What up, though, people? It's your boy Rod, and today we are here on Young Old Head Talk.
Yo, yo,
Got
yo.
my guy, got my guy Sherm here. Where we teach you the fundamentals of great takes. So, how's everybody doing today? My guy Sherm, what's going on with you, man?
I can't complain. Young Big Bands, what's going on with you?
I'm pretty good, man. Just glad to be here. Honestly, man, finally get this started, and hopefully we can take this to newer heights. So, it's good to start off.
First on, one of one. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. Okay, so let's
One of
jump
many.
right into it. Yeah, one of many, exactly. So let's jump right into it. So over the weekend, the Lions, the NFL had the draft, and our team, the Detroit Lions, had 2 picks in the first round. Last time that happened, 2009, got a guy named Matthew Stafford, who is now a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and a solid guy named Brandon Pettigrew. So in this iteration of the draft, with our 2 first-round picks, we got Aiden Hutchinson at number 2 overall, defensive end from Michigan, and then we got Jameson Williams, wide receiver from Alabama. Great prospects. So, how do you think we did in this draft so far? Let's talk about the first-round picks.
If you're asking me, just strictly the first round picks.
Yeah, right now, yeah.
Personally, I think they were pretty amazing. Like over the weekend, I thought hard about the stuff. And a lot of it, I wanted Jordan Davis, but when I went back and look at it, Brad Holmes already had drafted a few D tackles last year. So, okay, that justified it. Not to mention, I had read that he also was valuing Jamar Chase super high, which I don't blame him. So Jameson Williams kind of sits right in. My only gripe, and it's a tad minor, is that Jameson's knee he's got a bum knee, a torn ACL is recovering.
Scary injury, very scary injury. Really hard to come back from.
Apparently, in this day and age of the NFL, it's not as scary, but I'm just a realist. I mean, once you mess up your knee that bad, will it ever be the same? We'll see. But if you discount that, I think you got arguably 2 of the top DN and the top wide receiver in this draft. So at the end of the day, as a Lion fan, I can't be mad at that at all.
All I agree with that. I personally was banging the table on Kayvon Thibodeau. While I'm happy with Hutchinson, he's a local guy, grew up here, said he wanted to play for us. That's cool. And I like the talent that he has. I think he has the ceiling of a Bosa brother. Hopefully he's a long lost Bosa brother, number 3. That would be the best outcome scenario. But getting him at 2, because the Jaguars, we don't know what they were thinking. He fell right into our lap. So if he's there, you have to take him. Like I said, I was on board with Thibodeau. I think that's Myles Garrett 2.0. And who doesn't want Myles Garrett 2.0? No helmet swinging incidents. But other than that, everything will work out pretty well with that. And then with Williams, you get the best receiver in the draft. It was tight between him and Garrett Wilson for me.
Yep.
But the talent that we look, and if you look at the trade, what we gave up, we basically just gave up a 3rd-round pick because we got a 2nd-round pick back in return. And then we got a higher 1st-round pick. So we kind of swindled the Vikings on that, and that's a division rival also. So It's nothing better than swindling a division rival. But yeah, Williams, he a field tilting talent, man. I'm telling you, like future All-Pro in my opinion. Best receiver, great speed. I don't want to call him Tyreek Hill because he's a lot longer and bigger than Tyreek Hill, but the speed is really unmatched, especially in this draft class. So now you pair him with the guys like St. Brown and DJ Chark, and even guys like Josh Reynolds and Cleve Raymond. The receiving core is shaping up to be pretty solid, especially considering where we were coming into last year. We had the worst in the league until a guy like St. Brown, St. Brown, stepped up and broke out. And even guys like Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds came over, had a bad first game, and then balled out every other game since then. So, especially considering where we were last year, this wide receiving room is shaping up to be in the top half of the league, in my opinion.
Here's I think a hot take for me when I think about Jameson. I personally, and I can think back to a lot of Lions draft. I even Megatron, right? Like, yeah, Megatron's a complete stud, right? Outside of him, easy first ballot, right? I don't believe there's been a Lions wide receiver with this much potential speed on the roster in my lifetime. Just pure speed, and as we know, in the NFL, speed kills. So I'm absolutely looking forward to Jameson Williams in the Lions jersey. I just hope everything that they're saying about Brad Holmes and our new coach is true, that the attitude's right. Because half the problem with the Lions is like, yeah, you can get talent, but the talent gets tainted from being here. So the talent won't live up the talent when it's the Lions. So, you know, I'm excited. Now, let me ask you one thing. When you talk about the first round, number one overall, Trayvon Walker. What did you think, man? What did you honestly think about that?
Okay, so leading up in the past couple of days leading up to the draft, they were saying that Walker was going to go number one, and I'm like, can't take Walker number one. You know, yeah, he's a project, and he's a projected great player, but you can't take projects number one. You have to take home runs, solidified home runs.
Yeah.
And there were only three solidified home runs. One was Ike Ekwonu, who went to the Panthers at 6. 2 was Thibodeau, who went to the Giants at 5, and then we got the third one, Hutchinson, at number 2.
Right.
So I feel like when you take projects in number one, you have to be 150% certain that they're going to work out, and I just don't have that feeling with Walker. I've heard comparisons saying, you know, he might be the next Alden Smith. Alden Smith was a very solid player. Injuries and off the field issues kind of messed up his career, but when he was on the field and healthy, dude was a stud. But Walker has a long way to go to reach that potential. I feel like Hutchinson coming in was the most polished pass rusher. I feel like he's the most pro ready.
Yeah, okay, that's a good phrase for pro ready. As you know, in the group chat we all share, I sat there and watched those Trayvon highlights, and I was befuddled. You know what I mean? I was just like, what is this? What are we doing? This guy, he must have the intangibles and things that didn't show up on tape. So I'm assuming he had. Well, I know he had a fantastic combine. You know what I mean? Yeah. Pro day, but on tape, I just can't see it. So with that, right? It got me to thinking, and I don't want to, drift off too far down the what if ledge, but if the Jacksonville Jaguars take Aiden, do you foresee the Lions passing on Tibbs?
Okay, so I have 2 scenarios with that. If we take Walker at number 2, so like say Hutchinson goes number 1, everything is chalk so far. If we take Walker at number 2, I feel like this will be a same old Lions pick. Us Lion fans have a saying, every time something Lions like happens, same old Lions, same old team, same old franchise.
SOL.
I feel like if Walker goes number 2, I feel like that would be a same old Lions pick. Now, Thibodeau number 2 is a home run for me because him and Hutchinson were tied at the top for me in the whole draft class. Those are the 2 top talents. And so I had to really sit down and watch, because we saw Hutchinson play almost every week, being local. We saw him play every week, and we saw how much of a game wrecker he was. Only knock you probably have on him is like against bigger competition, against Georgia, the big boys. He didn't really show up much, but hey, that's Georgia, so can't really fault him for that. But yeah, I don't see them taking Walker at number 2 because I feel like that fits the mold of old Lions past. I feel like Matt Millen probably would have took Drake London number 2, or if he took a D lineman, he probably would have took Walker, or even Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. I feel like a good comparison for Walker is probably Trey Flowers, and we see how enamored the old regime was with Trey Flowers. So I don't think we take him. And then I was told that if Hutchinson wasn't there, Thibodeau, he was going to be the pick. Brad Holmes was enamored. Dan Campbell wasn't too fond of him, they said in the media. But Brad Holmes is enamored with Thibodeau. And I agree with that. I like that assessment of him because I've seen firsthand how he can take over a game.
Right.
He was a game record, game changer, all that stuff. And I think he's going to be the same as a pro. So, yeah, I just don't see us taking Walker number 2. And plus, I wouldn't have agreed with that. So, but hey, I'm glad we've got Hutchinson at 2, so that worked out pretty well for us.
I think overall it's a good first round, especially for the Lions. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and then talking about James Williams, we saw what he was able to do at Alabama, of all places, a wide receiver factory who just churns out receivers year after year. And they've got guys that are all pros, guys like Julio Jones, and even not lower level guys, but guys like Calvin Ridley, all those type of guys. So getting him from that factory down there, who coached up by Nick Saban, I think that's the future all pro talent. Like you said, we haven't seen speed on this roster in a very, very long time. Yep. Calvin was a 4.36 guy, but J-Mo probably has 4.2 something speed, and he's 6.1 too, so it's not like he's built like Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. he's longer. He's 6'1", about 180 pounds. Yeah, he's a little bit lanky and thin, but his arms are pretty long.
Right.
So you know he can go up and get the contested ball, and he can run right past you down the field. Like I said, we haven't had that since Calvin. So I feel like the first round went pretty favorably for us.
Yeah.
And we only had to move up 20 spots to get him, and only gave up the third round pick essentially. So I think that was a W, as they say, but for Brad Holmes and Dave Campbell and company.
I don't know if we are. That's up to you as host. But if we were given a grade on the first round of this draft, I'd give it a solid B+.
I would give it an A-. I would give it an A- because, like you said, you got, personally, in my opinion, 2 top 5, 6 talents in the draft. You got the best pass rusher or second best pass rusher, whoever you ask. Then you got the best receiver. If Williams doesn't have the ACL injury in the national championship game, by the way, I feel like if he does not get injured, that shifted the whole narrative of the game. If he doesn't get injured, Bama probably has another title, to add to that list. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, you're not gonna get no Bama love from me, man.
Yeah, I understand. I feel that.
But nah, man, nah. At the same time, nah.
No, I got that. But yeah, I feel like you get the best receiver, and then if he doesn't get injured, he's off the board probably to Atlanta. If he does not get injured, because you see they took a receiver, and then you see guys, the wide receiver draft this year, it was like a free for all. Everybody trading up to get him. The Packers even traded up to get one. We know how they have an affinity for taking later round receivers and molding them into something nice. They even traded up to get one. So that just goes to show you that everybody was going to be gone. And if you sit there and wait at 32, I would bet the house that Williams is not there. I would bet that.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's dive into these other picks, rounds 2 through 7. How do you feel about that? We got some guys like Kirby Joseph in round 3, Josh Pascal at number 2. Personally, I think we got a late round steal in Malcolm Rodriguez. Yeah, he's undersized, but you've seen him play on tape. He's got game speed. He's got tackling ability. He hits pretty hard. I think this whole draft was a solid A- for me. Like throughout, I think it was a solid A-. So tell me how you feel about that.
So if you're asking me personally, I don't particularly have a problem. I don't think there's a Jelani Tavai on this roster. I don't think that was the Jelani Tavai pick. Or who was the guy that Bob Quinn drafted in the second round? Teez Tabor. There's no Tabors in this pick.
Tabor.
So with that being said, I think there's all solid to very good NFL players. But outside of the first round, I don't know if anybody's got potential to be superstars. But again, we're talking about guys who just got drafted and got to prove themselves. I don't know what they could turn into. All I know is Brad Holmes is the type of person that can find a superstar stud later in the draft. So what I see on paper, I'm very satisfied with, because they accomplished a couple of things that typically the Lions never do, right? If they do go get a running back, they'll get you like a 5'10", 240 guy, runs a 4.8
bruiser.
Yeah, like what is this?
Nothing else.
Right. And at least Brad Holmes in his last 2 drafts, there's been an athletic mode he's kept up, a size requirement in a way of the athletes he wants on the team. So I'm all for that. This draft, they stuck a lot of the landings. People went out there and whined and said the Lions need to draft nothing but defense, and they pretty much did all that outside of a tight end and Jameson. So personally speaking, for everything as a Lions fan, I am totally satisfied. I don't foresee any of these guys being straight busts like a Teez Tabor. I don't know if there are any superstars here either, but at the end of the day, I think everybody's going to add to the productivity of the team and the wins, and more wins than losses.
I agree with that. Now, I'm not going to say there are any potential superstars in rounds 2 through 7, but the draft is a crapshoot. All you want in the draft is to accumulate talent, and not so much starters, but of course you want starters, but you also need role players, guys that come in off the bench, say if somebody gets injured or somebody's not performing, guys that you want to come in and not take over the game, but like do your job, be solid in what you do. And I feel like we got a couple of guys that can do that. James Mitchell at a number 2 tight end, if he doesn't get injured in, I think it was week 2, if he doesn't get injured, he's probably gone in the 3rd, 4th round. So that's a steal. And then Malcolm Rodriguez, he was only continue.
I was going to just let me ask for the internet myself. This tight end, he was the only one I looked at and went, a tight end. But, I still wasn't. What kind of tight end? Is he a vertical threat? Is he a run blocking tight end? What type of guy we dealing with?
So as we know, like in previous regimes, the Lions love blocking tight ends and tight ends who can't catch.
Yep.
This guy is pretty much the opposite of that. All he does is catch.
Okay.
He needs to work on his blocking, especially his run blocking, his pass blocking. It's kind of iffy too. But if one thing he can do, he can catch the ball. He's a former wide receiver, and a lot of these tight ends now are former receivers who flexed inside, and now they just use their size as a mismatch in their hands as tools to go up and grab the ball. Mitchell, I saw this one game. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was against North Carolina in 2020. Dude had like 8 catches, 160 something yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Damn.
Dude was a monster.
Wow.
And this is all from subpar quarterback play in college too. So he turned up the game. And I feel like him as a number 2 tight end, because Brock Wright was solid, had a couple of decent catches, had like 2 touchdowns, but Brock Wright is Brock Wright. Blocking tight end.
He can be upgraded.
Not much. Yeah. Exactly. He can be upgraded. He's replaceable. James Mitchell coming in as your number 2 tight end, stepping in, and when he comes back fully rehabbing the ACL, that's a solid pick to me. Like when he came through, I was like a tight end. I was kind of the same plane as you, like a tight end. I don't know about that. But going and looking at his tape and like realizing the need of backup tight end that we had, that's a solid pick for me, especially knowing his talent and his play style and knowing what we're accustomed to for tight ends. So I like him. I do.
Were you concerned? Because a lot of people, listening to the Lions community and things of that nature. Sidebar: I'm convinced most Lions fans, we're not used to success, so we don't know what a successful draft is supposed to be or look like.
Yes.
So
we're used to subpar and mediocre drafts.
Yeah. With that being said, I saw these guys and they drafted 3 potential DNs, and I loved it because why just leave Aiden out there on the island? Why not triple up on protecting him or putting a guy on the opposite end? Just as much depth as you possibly can. I believe Aiden's going to be a very good pro. I don't know if he's going to be a game wrecker. That's up to Aiden to prove us wrong, but I think he's going to give you solid production. So with that being said, if you add extra DNs and more depth around him, I don't see how that hurts him. These are the things good teams do, man.
So we don't expect all 3. We don't expect Josh Pascal and James Houston to come in and be starters from day one. Personally, I think that Josh Pascal is going to kick inside and be more of a D tackle, because we seen Levi Onwuzurike, who we took in the 2nd round last year. He had flashes, but he wasn't really the stud that we thought he was going to be. Even Aleem McNeil came in and played a lot better than we expected and played better than Onwuzurike, but he's more of a nose tackle. So why not kick an athletic guy who can get to the quarterback a little bit in Pascal? Why not kick him inside as a pass rusher? Because Michael Brockers is getting up there in age and he's only here for like 1 more year. So why not have an insurance policy for that? And then with James Houston, who was a former Florida recruit, played in the Power 5, was pretty good there, transferred and then lit up the SWAC and played for Deion Sanders, had 16.5 sacks in 1 season. That was more than Hutchinson had. Now, granted, that was the FCS level, but still 16.5 sacks anywhere. It's pretty darn good.
Now that's the guy I've got my eye on personally, James Houston. I'm hoping, rooting and praying for the best of him, because you want to see guys like that in the 6th round step up and be contributors. And to be fair, I believe everybody in their draft last year got quality time played in. You know what I mean? It was like, if you got drafted, you played. Yeah. So
from Panay all the way down to Jamar Jefferson, everybody got playing time almost.
Right.
Even the injured ones.
So I anticipate that always being the standard. I'm not drafting 7 guys for 3 of them to play. That's old Lions stuff.
That's old Lions. Every other Lions regime, old Lions. But yes.
Yeah. So if Brad can give me another 6 guys that are giving me high productivity, I'm more than fine with it, man. Like I said,
6 out of 8 is a good number. Is a good percentage.
If you're using that measurable to say, hey, did these guys get on the field and add to, give us some productive minutes? Yes, the answer is yes. To be fair, the Lions still only won 3 games, but you saw a lot of fight in a team that literally had no depth and just attrition was kicking their tails the whole season. So if you stack these, these good layers that you have, I think you're onto something. I don't know if this draft makes the Lions a 10-win team, but I know a 12-win team, 10-win team, but I know it definitely improves them. Definitely. That's a very obvious take.
I think we can double up on the wins because, like I said, 3 wins last year. But if you keep in mind, we were in almost every game down the stretch.
I recall. I don't doubling up. That's see, there's the thing right there. That this draft, while it's not like, you know, it's not like the Dallas Cowboys draft, back in the 90s on, some old head stuff. This draft should be good enough to get you past 6 games. If you believe that Jared Goff won't have a wild start he had at the beginning of the season, and that how they ended the season is how they'll start. Like you said, there's a lot of winnable games in there, man. We had guys booming record field goal kicks on us, just bad luck Bears type stuff, man. This is the Lions in a nutshell.
Yeah, we're not even going to talk about Justin Tucker and how he just ripped our hearts out, just live. That was pretty rough. And then we're not even talking about the Vikings game where we drove down the field, was down like 10 in the fourth quarter, drove down the field, tied the game up, and then fluke passes get caught, and then career-long field goals for this one kicker who we haven't heard since, kicks a 55-yarder, and they go home and celebrate while so.
As a representative of the Lions fan base, I don't think the internet knows our pain, man. I really don't. And
I don't think any other fan base knows how rough we've had it year in, year out, and then the media just piles on, doubles it, makes it worse. So yeah.
And we watched our guy for 12 years struggle, go ball out, win a Super Bowl like it was nothing. So
first year, like this is not even his 4th year going. This is his first year.
Yeah. So hopefully,
that was kind of hard to stomach. That was kind of hard.
That was extremely hard to stomach. I'm hoping the football gods will give us some good karma or something. Like, hey, Bobby Lane's curse has been lifted. Matt Stafford did something. Maybe it's our turn in 2 years, 3 years.
I think 2-3 years. You're looking at a playoff contender.
Better be. Or a lot of people get fired.
Yeah, we're gonna have to clean house again, but I don't foresee that happening right now, especially the way things are going right now and the players that we've gotten and the culture that we see is coming up. So I don't foresee that happening. Everybody cleaning house again. I don't see that happening.
But if I had to give the rest of the draft rounds 2 through 7, again, probably give it a solid B.
I would give that a B+ also.
Yeah, I think Brad did his job. He identified needs, he identified players, and he connected the two. He made that happen. Unfortunately, for any other regular NFL successful franchise fan base, that's normal day-to-day business routine stuff. For Lions,
yeah, it's kind of sad that we have to say, "Oh my God, we got a solid player in the 5th round." It's kind of
certain franchises are scoffing at us right now. I'm all
Packers fans, Ravens fans, like. These guys.
To be fair, I felt the Lions had a better draft than a lot of these teams. I think the Ravens and the both New York teams had really good drafts. I don't know
drafts in my opinion.
Yeah, I really don't know what Green Bay was doing. I really don't know what Minnesota was doing. But again, those are
Bears also fluked out too.
They had a couple good picks. I can't front on what the Bears did. I don't know if it's going to translate, but in name value, the Bears walked away with some guys I thought that were pretty decent.
First 2 picks, nothing else. Kyler Gordon is solid. I wanted Jaquan Brisker at the 2nd round pick. I wanted Jaquan Brisker, not gonna lie, but I feel like you have to take a receiver to help Justin Fields or take another O lineman to help Justin Fields because if he's your franchise quarterback, you gave up the 1st round pick. Evan Neal is not supposed to be a Giant. Evan Neal is supposed to be a Bear right now. You gave that up for Justin Fields. So why not put talent around him? Why revamp your secondary when you can do that later in the draft? That was just my opinion. But
we're in this odd place in the NFL where these guys are getting franchise QBs but failing to protect them. I mean, let me ask, did Cincinnati get a guy to help Joe?
They got a 5th round tackle. I believe. Mm-hmm. But no, actually what they did, they signed a lot of guys in free agency. They signed, if I'm not mistaken, they signed Ted Karras, they signed Lyle Collins. They got some guys in free agency. But the draft, they figured, well, our defense, especially our secondary, was pretty bad last year. Let's not revamp that. Now that is admirable because you got guys in free agency. So the draft is where you get the younger guys. So I do respect that.
Not to veer too much from line. I just watched because when you really look at what the Bengals did, just adding Jamar and a bunch of Wiley vets got him to a Super Bowl. So, get that right guy behind center and, running the X receiver position, and things can happen, but you still got to protect him. Joe might be a flash in the pan if they don't get that man some protection, so we'll see.
It was kind of hard to watch Joe struggle so much in the Super Bowl because I was pulling for him to win. And the crazy thing about it is they almost won. Say they have one of these guys they sign in free agency, or say they have if they have a solid offensive line, they win the Super Bowl pretty handily, in my opinion. That's a hot take, but
that's a very hot take. I'm gonna let the internet decide that one.
Yeah, y'all tell me in the comments if y'all think if Joe Burrow has the Lions offensive line, do you think they win the Super Bowl against the Los Angeles Rams? Let me know down in the comments.
Deep question.
Very deep question. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about our other team, the basketball team, the Detroit Pistons. Coming off of if you look at the record in the first half of the season, it was a rough year, a very, very rough year. But that was to be expected with the talent that we have, which is kind of minimal. But with the players that we have, and all this, everything else that's going on in the league, all these talented guys, they're gonna beat up on the Pistons. But we have a future All-Star and MVP, in my opinion, in Cade Cunningham. We've got solid players like Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, maybe even Marvin Bagley sticks around. Guys like Killian Hayes who've got decent potential. So looking forward to the offseason, because kind of that's what we've grown used to, is looking forward to the offseason and the draft as Pistons fans. What do you foresee happening, or what do you think should happen? What would you like to see happen?
Man, I've been dwelling on this one for the last, and I am so torn. But personally, and just like that same principle that basketball, football, speed kills, I think that same thing applies, especially as I watch Ja and a lot of these young guys. I think pound for pound, the best pick might be Jaden Ivey, most talented, most upside, and a very dangerous backcourt with Cade and Ivy. I think if you're going talent for talent, he's probably the guy. But it all depends on where you land in the draft lotto. But personally,
it's not ridiculous to say that.
No, yeah, because if you land at 4 or 3, you might have a chance for Ivy. If you land at 1, probably going to get Jabari, and I like Jabari. I like him a lot as far as a scoring option. His rest of his game, like a catch and shoot release kind of guy. I don't really like his drive game at all. I think he does play well. His shot is way too pretty to be like, oh, okay, this guy can't play or something. And his defensive capabilities have been top notch. So I can see him being number 1. The only guy I don't want on his team at all, and I know everybody's ranting and raving out there on Twitterverse, is
we could say it together, Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, I don't know what. I just can't see it. Everything about him, as long as I've been watching basketball as an old head, he strikes every possible red flag of guys that become quote unquote busts. Every one of them. So I personally, he could be a Hall of Famer, and that's cool, and I'll be wrong on that, but I don't want that player on my franchise.
We are in agreement with that one, my friend. Chet Holmgren I want Troy Weaver and company to stay as far away as possible on Chet Holmgren, because, okay, let's just start with the obvious one. His frame. Dude is 7 foot and weighs 190 pounds.
Yeah.
That's not a good recipe for success, people. Look at Bol Bol. Bol Bol was a top 10 prospect before he got injured, slipped all the way to the second round, mid-second round. And we see what he's doing now. Bol Bol was supposed to be a Piston, but, injuries got in the way of that and nixed that. And look what he's doing now. Still injured. Not doing anything.
Yep.
So that's just one example. And then, yes, okay, his shot, he can shoot for a big man, and he's got perimeter skills. He has perimeter skills, which I admire in a big man, especially a guy his size. But I don't think his frame can withstand the rigors of an 82-game season, especially how physical these guys are now.
Now, I've read reports saying this guy is 2 years away. Like, I'm not drafting the guy in the top 3 to be 2 years away. You got to give me something right now.
Right now.
Yeah. One guy can do a lot in the NBA as far as your franchise go. And I'm right there with you as far as Chet. If I had negatives, that's probably the biggest one. It's slight frame. I worry about a guy like him, his frame. I worry about his feet, his knees, his back, all the things that I've seen play big men like that my entire basketball watching life. I don't see how he's any different. He's pretty okay athletically, but he's still kind of
Yeah, he's not a running jumping out the gym. Oh my God, watch this type of athlete. He's
Yeah,
solid.
he's solid, but man, no. And I really, and again, and I watched him enough out there out in the West Coast play. I don't even think he was the best player on his team. Well,
That's a really high take.
Nah, let me take that back. He was definitely the best player on his team, but what's the other kid that was on the team with him? The senior guy.
Oh, Drew Timme.
He made a lot of stuff happen on that team. And
Drew Timme was a glue guy.
Yeah, and the only other thing, like there was literally Paolo Banchero, who I really like actually for the Pistons because of his passing ability. And I think you'll see a lot more of that in the NBA as the game widens, gets wider, and Paolo can shine a little more. I get the knocks on him, but here's my thing with Chet. Athletically, I don't like him. I don't like the way he moves. I've seen him get bodied by bigger guards. Paolo gave him the business. I believe Jalen Duren gave him the business. Like, man, these are your comps. You're gonna see these guys, over an 82 game season a few times, and I don't want to leave out of college.
A couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't feel like you're just clearly better than them, but you're getting drafted higher. I don't, you know what I mean?
So I feel like the draft, like kind of by the media and kind of us too, but I feel like there's a top three, and then there's one, and then there's the rest. You have Jabari Smith, you have Chet Holmgren, and you have Paolo, and then in that next tier, you have Jaden Ivey. He's the only one in that tier, and then the rest is just like a free for all after that. I feel like if I had to rank them, I would put Paolo number 1, Jaden Ivey number 2. Close between him and Jabari Smith at number 2 and 3, but I feel like Ivy likes it because we need a 2-guard. We need a dynamic 2-guard. And he puts me in the mind of John Morant. Not because of their hair or anything like that, but their play style. They seem pretty similar, especially at the stage coming out of college. And then after that, you put Chet. Or even there's a guy like Shaedon Sharpe who I would want above Chet. Shaedon Sharpe is a former number 1 overall recruit in the country. Didn't play at Kentucky because of some eligibility issues and all that stuff, but pound for pound, like I said, pound for pound, talent-wise, Shaedon Sharpe is a top 3-4 talent in this draft. Yeah. And if he works out and pans out how we think he can be, that's a dynamic backcourt with him and Cade.
Yeah, to be honest, because I went back and I'm trying to do as much research as you can on Shaedon, but the intangibles that I hear, 6'5", 6'6", 3-level scorer, highly athletic, plays above the rim. I like everything.
49 inch vertical. 49 inch vertical.
Of everything I've seen with him. The only thing is the NBA will crucify you if you reach up and take a guy like that. But then again, see, we're what, a month and a half out. The NBA still got his combine, and the NBA still got his pro days and all that stuff. So these GMs might just walk in there and go, "Whoa, Shaedon Sharpe just crushed the buildings." You know what I mean?
Amazing. Yeah. If he's here, we're taking him, no doubt about it. That type of thing.
I mean, it'll be advantageous if I feel like if, say, we did land at 3. Then somebody's like, oh, I gotta have Chet or somebody. Hey, I'll drop back. If you're at 6, I'll drop to 6, and I believe Shaedon will be there hopefully. But
I agree.
Everything's dependent on this lotto, man. Everything's. I think that the moment the draft lotto, who's going, what team's picking first, then you can start doing all that. The GM stuff.
Yeah, I think everything works out. We can't use last year as an example because we all knew whoever got Cade or whoever got number 1 was getting Cade. We kind of figured that, but actually I would have loved to have done a live reaction then just to see our reactions to getting the number 1 pick, especially being Pistons fans and all the hard stuff we've had to go through. But I don't foresee us getting number 1 this year. I feel like the league wouldn't really like us getting number 1 2 years in a row, so I personally I think the Houston Rockets are getting number 1 this year. That's just my opinion.
So looking at I put up a website on here. I'm not, NBADraft.net, whatever, give them a little bit. I believe I wouldn't even be surprised if one of these middle area teams got first, like an Indiana Pacers or a Portland. I wouldn't be surprised if Portland ended at 2 or 3, or I can even see OKC because I kind of want OKC to go first.
OKC is a sleeper to get number 1.
Yeah, and I want him to get Chet. Like, hey, take Chet.
He has Chet written all over him. Yeah, all over him.
That's the destination for y'all. Go do that. And honestly, him and Giddey and a couple of other guys, SGA, that they can make some noise if things all work out. But again, like I said, I just got my gut instincts on Chet as a player entirely. But I definitely don't think it's going to be Detroit. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was or Orlando or. You know what I mean? And the Indiana Pacers. something like that to get another fan base jacked up, man. Because the NBA's got so much talent, you might as well spread it out. You know, long as it's Sacramento, fine.
Yeah, that's as I like to say, as you all know, they are the Jacksonville Jaguars of the NBA to me. I feel like they waste talent so much, and when they get one talented player, he leaves because he doesn't want to be there. And then what does he do? He goes out, wins things, you know. But I feel like if we get number 2, in my humble opinion, I would take Paolo if we got number 2. Depending on who goes number 1, if Paolo goes number 1, then I feel like you have to take Smith. And say we get number 3. If Paolo and Jabari Smith both go, either you trade down and get a guy like Sharp or Keegan Murray even. I would take Jaden Ivey at number 3.
Hey, you preaching to the choir. You are preaching to the choir. The only questions I got about his game, and I think to be honest, K's the type of player that doesn't really matter. Does he?
Yeah, anybody can play with Cade. Cade is a very, very contortive player. You know, to play around anybody.
Does Ivy need the ball at all times? When you watch his highlights, he's always got the ball, but he's playing downhill. So if you give it to him in spots and he plays downhill, meaning he's attacking the basket, kid's gonna be dangerous. I don't want him running the offense. I might have him running a set play or 2 here or there. And I don't, his 3-ball needs some work, but he's got that one thing you cannot teach, period.
Speed.
Yeah, and speed.
Driving ability, athleticism, finishing.
He can get to the rim with no problem. So I liken him to somewhat of a Jalen Green type. So imagine if you stuck Cade and Jalen Green together just a year later. Not
that is a dangerous combination.
Yeah. So personally speaking, I kind of want to see that dream scenario. You know what I mean? See these dangerous guards in Detroit. One guy that just plays smooth and under control, and the other guy's his hair on fire and that'll bang on you. You know that I need to see that in Detroit.
Dream scenario to me is we land at about 3 or 4. You take Paolo or Jabari Smith, and then you trade Jeremy Grant and package somebody else like Hamidou Diallo or Frank Jackson, and then you get a pick like number 6 or 7, and then you take Shaedon Sharp. So now looking at that, you have Cade, Sharp, Sadiq, Paolo, and then Paolo or Smith. And then whoever you sign in free agency at center, because I feel like we have to upgrade the center position in free agency. We'll get to that in a second. But I feel like you have to upgrade the center position. And then you got all the guys on the bench, guys like Stewart, guys like Killian, I feel like that's the dream scenario, and that works out very advantageously for the Pistons.
Listen, you're going to give Pistons Twitters all kinds of wet dreams. You talk like this. I'll tell you that right now.
That would be amazing. I'm very, very pleased with that. If that was to happen, I'd be a very happy camper, as they say.
Because, to be honest, I don't even hate Jeremy Grant on his lineup. I know people are ready to get rid of him. But if we get a position like what you just proposed, I got to do it. If I can upgrade, if I can turn Jeremy Grant into Shaedon Sharp and a top 2 pick that might be Apollo. First of all, that's 2 high-level ball distributors playing at the 1 and at the 4. The ball should never stop. I still love Killian coming off the bench. I'm probably one of the only few that's been riding with this kid since he got here. And the Pistons with the right vets and that right youth could be extremely dangerous. So
yeah, Killian is a 6-man candidate. If he plays like how he did that one game in OKC, 25 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 steals, 3 blocks. If he plays like that, that is a 6-man of the year candidate right there. Coming off the bench, leading your offense, because he's already a great ball handler, already a great passer. All he needs to do is get his confidence and his jump shot up. And the kid is limitless potential.
Exactly. So I don't know, man. I really like the Pistons, this upward momentum they're on, but May 23rd is not going to be as big as the last year's draft lottery, but it's going to be major, because if you get that right pick, that right piece, this thing can go from a 6 to a 12 overnight almost, man.
Yeah, I feel like if everything works out in our favor, how I want it to be and how I could see it being, they're playing team.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay. Yep. So moving on really quickly before we get out of here, let's preview the free agency. What would you like to see them do in free agency, the Pistons?
Man, give me a veteran, some kind of veteran. I I know Corey Joseph's going to be here. I feel like he's going to be here.
I'm a part of the get rid of Corey Joseph fan club.
I, I I know you are. And I'm not
Get him out.
opposed to getting rid of him, but I see it. And here's another thing. I don't know if I want to give up on Isaiah Stewart at my 5 spot yet, but I do feel like he can be upgraded. I do, but I love what he brings to the table and the team. If he's just another one of 12 guys that are actively rotating, great. But as far as positions I want to see, yeah, just upgrade the 5 spot or get me the best possible 2 guard if you can't, land a 2 guard in the draft. I don't know who that is. I don't think Boston's going to break up their big 2 now. So I don't know who that 2 man is going to be. I don't want Jalen Brunson. I'll tell you that right now. I don't.
I agree with that. Okay, so what do you feel about a guy like Zach LaVine?
Zach LaVine's he's on his way out, or he can
He's
pop.
a free agent.
I don't know, man. He might be a little old for the Pistons. He might be a little old. But I like his talent. I like his intangibles. It just, long as that veteran that comes knows that, hey, you're a part of something. You're not the guy. I'm fine. You know what I mean? I don't want you coming here thinking you're the first option or nothing like that, or this is your team.
Yeah, Cade is the first option with whoever comes in.
Yeah. Well, it's the young boys team, so you can't be 20 unless it's like, hey, we brought you here specifically to be the guy, and I don't think they're going to bring a guy in to say that.
Not yet, at least.
Right? They got to give the keys to these young dudes and see what they can do.
I agree with that. So, in my opinion, a dream scenario in free agency would be getting a guy like Zach LaVine, or even an underrated guy like Lonnie Walker, who, if he can get his 3 ball together, Lonnie Walker is a starting 2 guard in this league, guy from San Antonio.
Yep.
And then I feel like we can, I don't want to say give up on Stewart, but if you send him to the bench so he can play the 4 position, that's the best case scenario to me for his development. Yeah. Because as a 5 man, he's undersized. And he's not in the mold of a Brandon. Well, he kind of is in the mold of a Brandon Clark, but I don't feel like he can take the game over like a Brandon Clark can or a Bam Adebayo, an undersized 5 man who can get you 15 boards and impact the game like that. So I think you send him to the bench to be a stretch 4.
Only thing I think Stu is missing is that, because I think he can get you to 15 boards and play unexpected defense and make it very hard. Because I've seen this guy check guards and give you a lot of things that you want from your big. Only thing I have a problem with is that his undersizedness, if that's a word, it comes to bother him when he's trying to score inside. Then he starts to look smallish.
Yeah, we need a guy who can go inside, bang, and get you a bucket.
Or like a Marvin Bagley, just catch it because it's there all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's the thing with him and Cade, because I remember in spurts the year before last, Killian would feed Isaiah Stewart in the post a lot, and he'd go catch lobs. He didn't do it as much this year, but I do like the development of his game. So we'll see. He can stretch the floor out. He does a lot of things. I think he's a winning player, so I don't necessarily want to get rid of him right away. But I do agree he can be upgraded.
Yeah, but we didn't even talk about the big fish who everybody in Pistons Twitter and media is talking about getting. That's DeAndre Ayton. Now, DeAndre Ayton on this team, going along with Cade in the draft pick and Sadiq Bey, that low key might be a playoff team.
Yeah, agreed.
Because Ayton can get you 15 and 15, 2 blocks, play decent defense, decent rim protection, because that's what the Pistons need. They need a rim protector. We have no rim protection at all.
Oh, exactly. So right, I'm right there with you. Because as much as I like Jeremy Grant, but him and Stewart together, they're deficient. And
yeah, that doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, our rim protection could be a lot better. So we'll see. I don't think a guy like Paolo, if you trade away Jeremy Grant and pick up Paolo, your interior defense takes 2 steps backwards. So you're gonna have to sign a more defensive presence if you do that. So we'll
even
see.
If you don't get DeAndre Ayton, get Mitchell Robinson. Somebody in that mold who can rim protect and get you blocks and boards. As they say on 2K, a glass cleaning lockdown. We need a glass cleaning lockdown in the worst way possible.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
no, man, we'll see though.
Yeah, like I said, it all is dependent upon May 23rd and what goes on in New York in that draft lottery room.
Agreed.
Yep. So with that being said, that is the first episode of Old Younghead Talk. We appreciate you guys for stopping by, checking in, doing whatever you're doing. If you're reading a book, you're out grocery shopping, doing whatever you do, we appreciate you guys tapping in with us. And thank you, Sharon, for also being here. Hopefully
Yeah,
y'all
absolutely.
yeah, appreciate it, man. Hopefully you guys can decipher our takes, tell me how you guys feel about it in the comments and whatnot. And with that being said, we'll catch you all on the flip side. Salute to you all.
Peace.